Hi Maureen, thanks for meeting with us today. We enjoyed seeing your kids doing those fabulous lessons. And I wanted to ask you, how has Orton Gillingham been working for you in your classroom over the past couple of years since you took the course?
It works beautifully. It pairs very nicely with the Montessori method that we already use in this classroom. So I just incorporate the Montessori materials into the lesson. Teaching letter sounds is something that is part of the kindergarten curriculum anyway. So we just, the Orton lessons just formalize that a little bit with the Montessori curriculum. So
have you had to adapt the lesson, the original lesson that
Yes.
you learned? Okay, you want to talk about how you adapted to fit this age level?
Sure. I don't have the initial lesson at the beginning of the year. This is May, so it's different in May than what it looks like in August. But initially we introduced the sound. The children can't read initially or spell. It's just learning letter sounds. So we just take out whole sections. So when I write the lesson plan, it always fits on one page and entire sections are missing. So we just start by introducing a letter, then we introduce a red word, then we'll do the visual drill with whatever letter. Sometimes it's one letter for a child, it's just reviewing it again. Or it can be 5 letters for some children. But we do the visual drill with whatever we have, we do the auditory drill with whatever we have. It's usually a couple months before we move up to 12 sounds for the auditory drill. Then we practice, we go back and do the rote words. Initially the children are not blending because many times they don't know 3-letter sound, even 3-letter sounds yet. Even if they do, they might not know a vowel yet. So before we start blending, we have other early language activities that we do with the children just to practice hearing the different sounds in a word. Things like that. So we do where it says blending drill.
Can you show us an example of like those phonological awareness skills that you work on?
Sure. We do, this is what we call the I Spy basket. And so we'll give the child 2 objects, dog and rat. And I have the child repeat the words to me, or I'll say to the child, what is that? Because the child might call it a mouse. I call it a rat, but they might call it a mouse, and then dog. And I'd say, I spy with my little eyes something that begins with a D sound. And the child would hand me the dog, hopefully.
Okay.
So we do that. We can also do this with middle sounds and ending sounds. So this little box comes in handy for just about anytime we want to isolate a sound in a word. We can use the objects in this box, and we change the objects every few weeks. So we get different ones, but they're generally all short phonetic objects. Other things we do as the child progresses, we have what we call the movable alphabet. And so the child first would sort these letters by sound. And then they get a word card, fish, and they have to supply the missing sound. So it would be and the child puts it on the card.
And then later on, this could be for ending sound or middle sound.
I have separate cards that also isolate the middle sound, and separate cards that isolate the ending sound.
Okay, great.
Then we move up to the children start to write the words with. We have boxes of these letters called the movable alphabet, and the children can write words with it. Oftentimes, when children first start to write, they leave out the middle sound, but that's okay. We don't correct them because we want to see them. We want to know when they start to hear that middle sound in the word. So we wait, and sure enough, within a few weeks, the child starts to add in the middle sound.
Right.
So we do something like that. When a child isn't yet blending, but they know several sounds, we'll again give them a couple objects, and we'll say, p, I, g. And the child has to push those sounds together to determine which one is the pig. So we would generally, with that, we would actually do a sound that begins, two objects that begin with the same sound. So the child has to really listen to hear what the next sound and the last sound in the word would be. So that would be another, these are all examples of what would be what we call a pre-blending drill.
How do you handle doing the auditory drill at the beginning of the year when they don't know how to make their letters yet?
We have a template that I created, and then we put a red dot to show them where to begin the sound. So each child in the lesson would have this template, and so when I would say "b," then they go and they just trace "b." They would only need to be able to find the sound, not necessarily have to be able to write it themselves in.
Great.
And we have some children that will use this for many months and some that use it for a few weeks.
And then once they've mastered this, they transition onto the whiteboard where
Yes.
they can make the letters
Yes.
themselves?
Oftentimes, we'll still keep this, while they make that transition, we'll still keep this out so they can see it and they can see where to start the letter before they start to write on the boards. But they will do their actual writing on the boards at that point.
Do you have any organizational tips of how you keep all these materials together for the Orton Gillingham lesson?
We have what we call our Orton bag. My assistant is also Orton trained, so she has her own bag. At the beginning of the year, once we assess the children, we divide them into small groups. We try to keep it no more than 3 children in a group. I have 15 kindergartners in my classroom and 9 preschoolers. The preschoolers do not get the Orton Gillingham lessons, just the kindergartners get them. So the kindergartners are divided into groups. If I have a child that's particularly struggling, they get an individual lesson. Every child gets a lesson at least twice a week. Again, depending on how much help the child needs, some children get 4 lessons a week. It just kind of depends. The groups do move as some children start to progress more quickly or some children need more practice. So every few weeks, Krista and I kind of assess the groups and redo them. But so everything goes in the basket. Each of us has a basket that has our lesson, our deck of cards for that group.
And so that's
This is the deck of
sounds,
cards.
and these are the red words that are on the rings?
Yeah, the red words, all the children in the class are always on the same red words.
Okay.
So the red words go on the ring. Every basket bag has the template. Each group has its own set of cards, so that you're not constantly shuffling to try and keep up with what one group has and a different group has. So each group has their own card with their lesson. Red words we share. Every bag has whiteboards. Every bag has markers. Every bag has highlighters. And then Krista and I will just make notes on the children's lesson as we go along. If we need to reteach something or practice something, or if they've got it and we're ready to move on, we make notes on the board about it. We also use the sandpaper letters are a Montessori material, so we use these. Sometimes when a child's learning a new sound, and then they'll trace this 3 times before we ask them to go write it on the board. And I have that for, I have individual ones also that the children use for when we're, especially at the beginning of the year when we're doing, and then maybe if a child's not writing yet, they can use the sandbox or the sand tree to do it. And I think that's all we put in the boxes. Wipes, so they can wipe off their board. So we try to keep those stocked, ready to go.
How have you heard from the teachers upstairs how the kids have done that left this class last year and have gone up?
They've been very happy with what the children know already coming in. They've been real happy with it.
Great.
We have been able, since we started doing the Orton, because it formalizes the Montessori lessons a little bit, we have been able to move the children forward a little further than what we were doing before.
That's great. Do you have any more questions, Barb, that you can think of to ask? Okay. Well, thank you for
All right,
letting us
thank
come
you.
today.
Thank you
And
very
see
much.
everything.